Hello everyone, welcome to the Boleyn Lounge. As you can see, suffering from West Ham's problem this evening. A bit of thin squad has cost me, and I'm flying solo this evening, so I'll do my best to bring you a little bit of content. But there's also a big game going on that I'm sure everyone's quite interested in, so we'll keep tabs on that as well. Anyway, thanks for joining me everyone, and as I say, welcome to the Boleyn Lounge for those returning. And if you haven't been subscribed, please take time to do that. Costs nothing and takes a couple of seconds. And there's Barry in the chat. All good here, thank you. And I hope all's well with you, Barry. And yeah, so final home game of the season. Went out with a win to Luton Town. Unfortunately for them, relegated them. It's a shame. They've put in a great effort on a small budget and yeah, just fallen short. But we went out on a high, so it was a good day for all those at the stadium. I was one of them. I didn't stay for the team coming out. They took far too long, so I saw Luton off and head to the station. But it was a good day. It was a lovely day in the sunshine. Pretty poor first half. And second half, much improved. Really nice goals. Lovely to see Earthy come on. Get his moment in front of the home crowd there. Done himself no harm whatsoever. Hi, Stan. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Barry. I hope everything's okay, mate. And he gets well soon. So yeah, rounded off with a win. Good reception from Moyes at the end by the sound of things. Probably deserved in my opinion. You know, I don't think he deserved to be disrespected at the end of it. I'm glad to see that he's gone now. Time for a new era under Lopetegui. One more game to go, and depend on tonight's result, might depend on how many they need to beat us by, which is a frightening sort of prospect. But well, we'll see what they need here. They win tonight, maybe they don't have to thrash us by quite as many on Sunday. No problem, Barry. No problem, mate. Yeah, so I don't really know how much content I can really bring you guys this evening. Got no one to bounce off, and not really that confident doing these solo shows. So I'll stay with you for a little while. We'll have a chat, and yeah, any comments you want to put in, any subjects you want to cover, put them in there. We'll see what we can do. And what does everyone think about the prospects on Sunday? Anyone got any confidence whatsoever that West Ham could turn up and give City any kind of game? Or we're all going to be sitting watching through our fingers? I don't really know what to expect. I think we haven't got any backbone, and we'll collapse. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And Lopetegui coming in, massive job, huge rebuild, smatterings of on the cheap, an investment, I guess. Sounds like Zaha, they're pursuing that sort of thing. That's a serious inquiry. So don't know if he's really the answer. But on a short-term deal, maybe he can provide a bit of a solution for us. Harry's saying he'd love to see us smash City, but then we help Arsenal in their title race. Yeah, very true. But I don't see us doing Arsenal any favours at all on the final day, if I'm honest. Evening, Wazim. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you back in the chat. Stan saying, I think it would be nice for a good showing on Sunday, but I think the writing might be on the wall. Yeah, I can't see us offering enough resistance to City on Sunday. And yeah, I think the best Arsenal can hope for is a draw this evening. And I hope they got enough in the tank with a goal difference. Harry's saying he'd like to see how Moyes gets Earthy into the squad against City. Roy must play. Yeah, you'd love to think that he'd get some minutes against City, wouldn't you? Nothing for Moyes to lose. Boy's got to be absolutely buzzing walking on there. I don't know if he starts. I think that might be too much to ask of Moyes, but yeah, he's got to make sure he gives him some more minutes and let him finish the season on a real high. He looked great, didn't he? When he came on against Fulham and he got kicked in the head, he was only on a few minutes, but yeah, he looked pretty competent in those few minutes. And then so coming on against Luton there, getting his goal, what a brilliant moment for him. And everyone in the stadium stood up and gave him an ovation. Everyone was pleased as punch for him. Yeah, fair enough. We'll see. I don't know if Moyes does that, but maybe. And what does everyone in the chat think about predictions for Sunday? Anyone got us down for a win? I think we just how many we lose by, but that's maybe just being the pessimism in me. Yeah, maybe Barry. I don't know. If he'd have come in earlier in the year, would the story be the same? Who knows? Hard to tell. But it's great that he's getting his moment to shine now, and the new manager coming in going to have something to look at there and something to consider. So he's done himself no harm whatsoever, and hopefully he gets another chance to shine against City. That would be nice. What do I think about the recent media pundits' angst against the fans' treatment of Moyes? Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How they've all kind of closed around him and put a big protective bubble around him, and well, I guess they're looking for the first opportunity when Lopetegui comes in to roll out their "Be careful what you wish for" line, and I don't really know why they quite so vocal about it. I don't think they do it quite as much with other clubs. I was listening to another show earlier today, and they were saying, when the Tottenham fans were a bit discontent under Conte and Mourinho, weren't really coming out and giving them such a hard time for what such a different style of football. So I don't really know what their agenda is. why they're so pro Moyes and seemingly so anti West Ham fans, and what their ambitions might be, and why they might want enjoy watching the games a bit more than they do under Moyes. See if Lopetegui brings that, but let's hope he does. I think we should all give him a fair crack of the whip. Crucial summer coming up for who comes in and what he can do with what he's got. I'm keen to see what happens next year. I'm looking forward to it, really. Harry said he'd like to see a few youth like Babella, Alfie, Scholes and Testers get running games this season. Not like we ain't needed to rotate our first team. I think that's a fair comment, but it's just not happening under Moyes, is it? But I really do hope that Scholes, for one, might get a chance with a new manager coming in for next season. I'd love to see him get in and around the first team and get a bit more opportunities. I think he's definitely good enough. He really looks good enough. Obama, I think he's going to be leaving the club, so he's not where he's going to end up. But we'll see where he goes and how he gets on. And Chester's, I'll be honest with you, Barry, I don't really know enough about him to suggest whether he's got it to make it in the first team or not. So I can't really comment on that. Moyes only does things when it's too late, and it's called learn by your mistakes. Yeah, I think there is a little bit of that. I mean, it was great to see Effie come on at the end in these last couple of games, but I agree with you. It's all a little too late. Some of these youngsters, they could have had chances earlier in the season. There was opportunities. I think there's times when we were struggling with injuries, suspensions, and he could have added a really good excuse to blood some youngsters there, and he didn't. He passed up that opportunity, and yeah, he missed a trick there. And it all looks a bit desperate, a little bit too little, too late now. He's out the door. I guess on his CV it says that he gave him his debut, but that's about all it's worth. Yeah, was he? I was at the game versus Luton. The first half was dreadful, and yeah, I thought Luton probably should have made more of us being so poor. Barkley went off. I think that made a big difference to them. I think that was a big loss to the way they play. And second half much better, and three really good goals. JWP took his goal really well. Suchek, absolute cracker, and Murphy at the end, what a beautiful bit of stuff. Caduce getting down to the byline, cutting it back, lovely bit of movement from Murphy. Tucked it in, got his goal. Brilliant to see them all celebrating with the young lad there. Yeah, I think it was really important that we won. Keep the atmosphere pretty cheerful and buoyant. I think it might have turned a bit sour if we'd have continued in the way we had first half in the second half and ended up losing the game. I think we've yeah, it might not have been quite such a happy affair at the end, but yeah, Luton fans kicking off with the stewards. That was quite interesting, and yeah, Luton team, they got applauded off by us as well as their own fans at the end there. Great effort, I think they put in through the whole season, and yeah, I feel a bit sorry that they haven't got a chance on the final day too. stay up and save themselves. But it's what it is, and our loss is our gain. 3 points doesn't mean a lot, but a winning on the final day, in front of the fans, good send off for the players and Moyes. Yeah, job done. Could have given Scholes some minutes, take over from Emerson for half hour, and take Cooper off for Chester's. Play Mubama in a front four with Bowen, Kudus, and Paqueta. They would supply the goals. Yeah, we could have done all of them kind of things, Barry, but I think that's a really big ask of Moyes, whether he's staying or whether he's not. I don't think he's ever doing that. But nice idea. And Earthy is just brilliant. Could use him left wing as corner. He never got it looking. Yeah, Earthy, he looks really good, and yeah, hopefully we're going to get to see a bit more of him. And Wasim saying he agrees that Bartley going off and killed them, allowed us to play. Yeah, I think Barkley is massively important to Luton. He's had a brilliant season with them, absolutely made them tick. And yeah, they've had a tough time of it with injuries, and I think that was a huge loss to them in that game. But I think overall they can hold their heads high for the efforts they made in the season, and I was a bit disappointed with them actually. I thought fighting for their lives they might have a little bit more, but like I say, maybe Barkley going off was just a final nail for them. Absolutely done for them. But yeah, good solid win for us in the end. We see Liverpool do it, so do Man City, Man United, even Newcastle boys wouldn't do it till he lost his job. Yeah, that's true. Very absolutely true. It's one of the frustrations about Moyes, isn't it? One of the criticisms of him is that this hugely promising proper youngsters that we've got that are knocking on the door of the first team just haven't really been given any opportunities. You know, they've sniffed around the first team bench a little bit here and there, but they've never really got used. And you know, when they have, it's sort of been meaningless minutes here and there. They haven't been given a good 20 minutes here or the odd half hour there. It's been the 86th minute, you know, and yeah, it's an appearance, but it's not really experience. So don't really get to see enough of them, and they don't get enough to show enough of themselves with those kind of appearances. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you. That's part of his flaws, and hopefully the new manager's going to be more open-minded to youth players, and we're going to see a bit more of them breaking into the first team squad and ultimately into the first team. And hopefully, if they're good enough, then they'll get the opportunities. It's the chance we've got now with a new manager or head coach, whatever his title coming in. You know, we've all got to be open-minded to say that he might do these things. He's got a record of working with young players in the Spain setup and one thing or another. So, you know, there's no reason he shouldn't have an open mind to bringing in young players if they're good enough. And squad is pretty decimated now, so we're going to need a lot of players, or we're going to need to draft in a certain number of players from that youth setup. So they should have every opportunity under a new regime. I was saying Moyes don't understand how valuable youth players are. If they play in 10 to 15 games, they're worth 20 to 50 million. I don't know why he didn't. It's all free. He'd been able to spend more. Absolutely right, Barry. Once again, if they get some appearances, get some exposure, even if they're not going to make it into our first team, build some value, gives them some market value. And even if 20 to 50 million is ambitious, even if we get 10 or 15 million for some of them, it's a return rather than these guys getting disillusioned and ended up leaving for nothing at all. So yeah, it's an absolute trick missed by the club, but it's not exactly restrained to Moyes. It's a problem that's more deeply ingrained in the club than that, and we should be utilising these players that are just below a little bit better, so that can perhaps move them on for a few £1 million here and there, and all helps with the investment back into that youth system, back into improving the facilities, and ultimately trying to improve the end product and get some of these youth players actually into our first team. With the massive rebuild job, what players would you like to see come in, and in what positions do we need improvement on? Well, what we'd like to see come in and what's realistic to come in is probably two different things. We will probably get somewhere in the middle of everyone will like, but we absolutely need to target centre backs. So Agard reportedly wants to leave the club, so there's no real point retaining a player that doesn't really want to be there, doesn't want to perform. So can get a return on him. I think we should as many as we can for him. Mavropanos should be fine. He should stay. Zuma, we know what problems are there with Zuma, so he could break it at any moment, and he can get caught for pace by just about anyone now. So yeah, that's a real problem. Ogbonna is obviously just lost his sell-by date. He's been a great servant to the club, and it's nothing against him at all. He's been brilliant in his time at West Ham, but it's no good for him to continue. So centre halves is a problem. Fullback, I'm hoping that Skulls have a real opportunity to get promoted into more of a first team role, more involvement at first team level, perhaps as understudy to Emerson. So that might be an area that we need to strengthen, but might have someone that we can use and develop. Right back's a bit of a problem, but I can see Kufal staying on for another year, depending on what funds we have. We absolutely need a striker and a left winger. And then, depending on what happens in the middle of the park, surrounding Pateta, we may need one or two midfielders. And that's just the start of it, really. I think we can get away with keeping Fabianski for another year because I don't think goalkeeper is a priority position. If we've got a pretty decent number two in Fabianski for another year, and can concentrate on the other areas that are in much more need of the rebuild, then I do that. We might find, some of the Zaha stuff. He's available cheaply. There's a stopgap. We might like that. I don't know that he's the answer, and he's certainly not going to improve our average age. But yeah, short term, as a compromise alongside whatever other signings might be made, I could see stuff like that working. I don't know what everyone's thoughts are in the chat. I'll be interested to see what you think about stuff like that. And Barry saying that's why clubs like Southampton, you think they can sell for profit. Yeah, that's true. Brighton are very good at doing it. Brentford have recouped some money over the years, although they haven't really got an academy, have they? They kind of just buy in and sell on. And Wazim's just Barry's dad a full and speedy recovery. On losing that. So yeah, big rebuild needed at West Ham. Big job for any incoming manager, but we've got Tim there, and I think this will be Tim's time to be tested to see if he shines now. Moyes has gone, so seemingly some of the barriers that were there in place for him will be gone. Lopetegui's being employed on the basis he knows exactly what Tim's role is. So hopefully Tim's got some players identified that he can get in on reasonable fees that don't break the bank, and enable us to recruit as many players as we can for the budget that we've got. I think it's going to be rumoured to be, depending on the sale of Paqueta, in the region of between 60, 70 million up to 150 million. So, yeah, that'd be interesting how we can spend that kind of money on the players that we need in the areas that we need. Sounds a lot of money, but it's got to go a long way. So I think the youngsters are going to be a really important part of West Ham United next year. So I think some of them are going to really have to be required to step up for the club. But it's a great career opportunity for them. So let's see how that works out. Barry says he'd like to see Max Kilman come in and maybe Jonathan Wright left winger and a replacement. Tufel like Wan-Bissaka. Tillman's, I think, has been linked, hasn't he? I think they're going to want a pretty good chunk of money for him. I think reportedly 40 to 45 million. Don't mean they're going to get that, but I think that's the kind of money that they're asking for him. Good player, but at that money, big investment. Jonathan Rowe is the guy at Norwich. So I don't know if they're going to come up or not. And 0-0 in their playoff, I think. So I don't know. I think we were linked with him in January, weren't we? And were they talking around 20 to 25 million or something for him, I think. And Wan-Bissaka, I don't know what sort of money we'd be talking for Wan-Bissaka. I should imagine 15 or 20 million for him, wouldn't they, for Man United? I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are on those targets, Barry. What you think they're valued at? We need 2 new centre backs. Wazim likes the look of Tosin and Kilman. Yep, just talking about Kilman, good player. Like I say, I think it'd be quite big money to get in. And then Tosin from Fulham, who's going to be a free agent, isn't he? And I really like him as well. I think if he's available and in signing terms, he'd be relatively cheap, not in wages, but it's not going to be a signing fee. Yeah, I think he's a really good candidate. And if you combine getting Tosin relatively cheaply and saying investing in Kilman, making it quite expensive. But if you say it's going to cost 5 million for the two of them, I don't think that would be too bad value. So I think that would be okay. And he goes on to say we need a striker more than anything. And he likes Davor or Jimenez. Are you talking about the Jimenez at Fulham or the Jimenez plays in German league? Now on that was in. And Jonathan David. Yeah. Barry saying Kilman's probably about 40 million, Rowe about 20 million, and 20 million for Wan-Bissaka. But I wouldn't mind a Matt Cash for us, yeah. I think Matt Cash be more expensive than Wan-Bissaka. But yeah, I think you're about right on the money there, Barry. I wouldn't argue with that. I think you're looking in them kind of regions, give or take 5 million here or there. It's probably about right, isn't it? But it's 80 millions of worth of investment there. Um, Depending on what our budget is, don't leave a lot for a striker. So yeah, I don't know how they're gonna work it out, balance it out. Like I say, we don't need Tim Stuyton to identify a Kilman or a Tony who's going to cost that kind of money, even a Solanke. We do need to go and uncover someone for 20 million, 25 million, perhaps at one of the European or South American leagues, and bring them in and for them to shine. Um, it's not easy to do, I don't think. So it's a really good test, and we see if he pulls it off or not. And would you take Conser from Villa? Yeah, I would. I think he's another one who'd be pretty expensive to sign. I don't think they'd want to let him go. I absolutely would take Conser from Villa. I think he's solid as well. I do like Tosin, and like I say, he's quite a cheap option. Kilman, fine. I think he's a good option too. Concert, absolutely. But I don't know whether Villa would be open to selling him, and I've no idea what he'd cost, but I would imagine they're going to want 40 million or something for him as well, aren't they? 35, 40 million, I should think. And Harry's in. Hi, Harry. Thanks for coming in. And what about that young Brazilian lad at Forest, Murillo? Yeah, I'd absolutely have him as well. And I think he probably might be a bit cheaper than Tillman or Conta. I think, you'd probably maybe you get him for 25 or 30 million. But yeah, I do like him, Wazim, as well. Murillo, yeah, I think he's been fantastic for him. And he's young, isn't he? He's 21 or 22 or something like that. Yeah, yeah, I think he'd be really solid. Um, Good signing. Definitely take him. And Barry's saying we got that 19-year-old Brazilian coming in. Is that Casalvo or whatever his name is, fella? I don't know if have they signed him. I don't know if that's official or not. You you're ahead of me if that's official, Barry. I don't know about that. And 35 to 40 million for Consa won't be cheap. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think Villa will probably be reluctant to let them go, and yeah, they'll want, rightly so, they'll want a good bit of money for him. I think he's a good player. But we've spent a lot of money already, and not addressed a striker, so they better find some more money. But I think there should be more money than they're kind of saying already. You think about the European placings. I think in FFP terms, we're in a pretty good place. At least accounting wise, Declan Rice money goes into this year's accounts. We might not actually have the cash for it, but on paper, I think that goes onto the books. That helps us in PSR terms. I think we're reported at 30 odd million from European campaign. There's going to be some income from player sales. So 30 million, I should think. So now we're up to like 60 million there. They're kind of saying that's what our budget is without having any kind of other transfer. So I think there is more money available, really. Talking about if the Paqueta sale goes through, then there'll be additional money from that. So I think they're on the conservative side when they're talking about the money that they're going to spend. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Ah, yeah, the Kosovo fella, yeah. We've put a second bid in for. Okay, yeah. I knew the bids had gone in. I knew there was talk about offering a bit more money, or they wanted a bit more money. Um, don't know anything official yet. So yeah, well, I don't know anything about him, so don't know if his first team ready or not. And I don't know if anyone in the chat knows more about him. They can enlighten us and let us know what his traits are and if he is ready for the first team or not, in their opinion. Yeah. With the more progressive style next year, where does that leave the likes of Suchek? I would like an upgrade. Yusuf Fafana would be ideal. Yeah, and I don't think Fafana would be cheap, really. So I've got to find more money, or we've got to compromise somewhere else on the money that we spend. So it's all about balancing things up. Suchek, I think, probably struggles. I think JWP's a bit more adaptable and could probably play more possession based side. He's a bit more technical, probably uses the ball a bit better, and he was encouraged to play forwards more. I think he probably plays backwards and sideways less than he does now. I think they're encouraged to play the safe option. Backwards and sideways is kind of easier way out, less risk. So I think they're kind of encouraged to play that way. So I think if they're encouraged to play differently, might see a bit more out of Ward-Prowse, might see him looking forwards, looking to pass the ball forwards a little bit more, use his range of passing better. So I think he can probably do a job prospectively, but Souček, I think, struggles. He's not especially good with the ball at his feet. He's good in the air. He puts himself about. He breaks up play. You know, he's pretty good in both places. So could he be useful? Yeah, I'm sure he probably could be useful. Um, but don't can't see it only in a reduced role and in certain circumstances that Souček's going to get a lot of. And Fofana, yeah, everyone was raving about him before, a young prospect. Again, I don't really know what sort of money. I bet you're probably looking at 40 million again. I don't know enough about him though. Kind of it's a bit of a guesstimate on that price. Harry says he thinks Souček should be replaced. Move Paqueta into the centre mid. Alvarez and play Earthy in the 10s. Yeah, it's possible. I think the Deuce might be more likely to play in there in the 10 spot. Bowen's going to be wide right and then perhaps a replacement on the left-hand side. Let's speculate. Let's just hypothesize and say Zaha, for example, and a new centre forward. So, but I don't know what's doable in this window, and that's really going to be a massive test for the managers because he either gets lots of players that he's got to integrate and get ready to play in his style at the level of the Premier League and integrate them all. That brings its own problems, or he's not really going to have enough players and he's going to have to throw his trust in some youngsters to help him out and get the job done. And then there's challenges getting the best out of them and sustaining that through a long, hard season in the top league. So either way, it's going to be a real test, and so we'll see what the new manager's made of, I think, and whoever, if he succeeds as Lopetegui, then good luck to him. I think he's going to have earned it. Either way, whether he gets a bundle of players to work with or not so many. So Barry's saying that the Wesley Brazilian fella has been playing first team football since he was 17 in the Brazilian league. Got over 30 goals and a ton of assists. It's meant to be rapid and is a front ways playing baller. Okay, so Barry's suggesting that he might well be prospect for the first team and ready for the Premier League. So who knows? Be nice to see an exciting young prospect in a West Ham shirt, lighting the league up. I think we'd all like to see that. Love it to be one of our youngsters, but yeah, young Brazilian, that'd be nice too, wouldn't it? Fofana is 25, plays for Monaco, would be available for 30 to 35 million. Could see a deal, especially if Kira goes the other way. Yeah, when you put that kind of price tag, and it sounds a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But them kind of deals, they sort of sound doable, don't they? That I think that's the sort of pond that we're going to be fishing in. We think we're going to need players for 20, 25, 30, 35 if we're going to get the money to stretch where we need it to get all those positions covered. And that's why I'm not so sure about a Tony deal at 45 or 50 million, or a Solanke deal at 60 million. I think both of those players have got plenty to offer. I just think they eat up so much of the budget, and there's so much work to be done that we need to be spending much closer to 30 million average on a player than 50 million average on. Harry's saying, Fofana is an amazing player though. He was linked to him before. Maybe Tim will get the job done, but I wouldn't mind Gibbs White. And we were linked with him before. And I think if he's going to be available for 30 to 35 million, that would be a much more doable deal than Gibbs White, because I think they're going to, he's another one that they're going to want 45, 50 million for. I do think he's a good player though, very, very intense. But yeah, he could score a goal, and he works very hard. I think he's a good player, but I think he falls into the high money bracket as well, and I just don't know how many of those we can get. Maybe one or two, but we're going to have to spend less money on the rest then. And Wazim saying Gibbs White is ideal, especially if Paqueta leaves. And that's probably the key to how big our budget is as well, isn't it? Is the status of Paqueta. Because if Paqueta leaves, it injects an awful lot more into the transfer kitty. Because I believe that if they want to trigger the release, it has to be in cash in full, I've heard. So everyone else is widely reported. So that being the case, huge injection of cash. Most transactions aren't carried out in full cash transactions like that. So it might be able to stretch the budget further than the 85 million, as it were, over the length of people's contracts and stuff like that. So I don't know, it could facilitate, 3 players coming in maybe. So I think quite a lot swings on whether Paqueta stays or goes. But equally, a lot swings on that. If he stays, how much more do we need to strengthen in that area? Do we need to sign a Gibbs White if Paqueta stays? So yeah, we'll see. Aaron's saying that's if City will put up 85 million for Paqueta. He's going to have to put on some performance against City to impress Pep. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, who knows if the deal's already been done and agreed, and that's why they're pushing the FA to drop the charges, trying to apply the pressure so that it can be all cleared and out of the way, so they can swiftly do the deal, trigger the release clause, and off he goes. And he hasn't got anything to prove, because on his last few weeks' performance, you wouldn't be rushing out to pay 85 million for him. I mean, we know what a magician he can be, and we know how he can influence a game. We know what a tough little beggar he is, but we also know how lazy and petulant and childish he can be as well. So, yeah, he's sort of showing himself up as a bit petulant and childish over the last few weeks, rather than the superstar that he can be. So, still, Pep's are aware of all of that, and yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether their interest has cooled, or if he's just checked out and he knows it's done. We'll see. So as I'm saying, he thinks we have 80 to 100 million to spend, and if Pack left, that could easily be 160 to 180. Yeah, and I tend to agree with you on that, Wazim. I think some of the figures that have sort of been quoted thus far are a little bit short of that, and like I say, I think they're a little bit conservative, and I think that is probably um, somewhere where we are in reality. I think we could be up to 180 million if Paqueta goes, if he goes for the 85 million, and yeah, otherwise we should have about 100 million to spend, I think. But it's been floated a little bit lower than that. Like I say, I think it's all a bit on the conservative side. They're talking about 60 million. I think they should be available than that. We're meant to have 150 million even with Paqueta, as they said. We don't have to sell any players. Yeah, that's right. We're not under any pressure to sell. We've got no FFP restraints in that respect. So obviously everyone's got FFP restraints. I think we're pretty okay in our spending power and what we would be able to invest over the summer in terms of PSR. And we're certainly not one of the clubs that's in a position that needs to sell players to balance their books. So, no, we absolutely don't need to sell anyone. And we're going to end up selling a few. Like, for example, Agard. There's no point keeping a player here. Don't want to be here. Who's got his eyes elsewhere. Perhaps don't like the Premier League, if reports to be believed. Um, no point keeping a player like that. Might as well get what we can for him. Move him along. So there's going to be other bits and bobs added up going into that kitty. Yeah, be interesting to see what they spend this summer. A get a hat trick against City to impress Pep to buy in and get us a win. Yeah, I don't know if a hat trick against them and get us the win is going to impress Pep. I'm sure it'll probably impress him on his ability, but it might might be a bit sore. But I admire your optimism, Barry, and get some money on it. I bet that'd be worth a few quid if you predict that. Azim's asking, what's my expectations for next year? Where do you think we'll end up? A good cup run, possibly. So, uh, my expectations for next year, I think it's very difficult until we see what squad the new manager's going to have to work with. But my expectations are that regardless of us needing a rebuild, we've recruited a new manager now, and we should have done due diligence. I'm sure they've spoken about style of football, what targets, what areas they need to strengthen in. And we've got Tim as a director of football who got all the data and the people in place to search out the good fits for those positions. So we should, in theory, recruit well, and we should have the setup in place for that to work. And if Moyes was the person that was rocking the boat and pulling against it, which I think there's probably some truth in, that won't be there. We will still have the Sullivan element, and now it remains to be seen how involved he does or doesn't get, and whether that muddies the waters or not. But Tim's allowed to do his job. Lopetegui comes in and does a decent job for us, and we recruit well. Then we should be looking for at least another top 10 finish, I think. We might not achieve that. Influx of players, not a good fit, couple don't settle. You know, things like that can happen. But I really think we should be looking for a top half finish. I think we should really be looking always for a domestic cup run. What Moyes did at Liverpool this year was pretty unforgivable, really. There was a really good opportunity to get to a cup final there, and he really threw that away. I think it was a bit criminal. It was one of the worst things that he did this year was what he did at Liverpool and give up there. Very poor. And like I say, a real good chance to get to a cup final. So I think that was a massive mistake. But I think as West Ham fans, we always want a good cup run. I think all of us would love an FA Cup. I know I definitely would. You for me, I think we spoke about it, touched on it last week. If you said to me 14th and win the FA Cup, I'd take that all day long. I'd have no problem with that. Hopefully we play a better style of football than we have been doing. It's a bit more attractive to watch. We can all go to the game, watch from our armchairs or however we consume our football, and enjoy the football a little bit more. But yeah, if we get to a cup final, win a cup, I'd happily take mid-table, just below 13th, 14th. I think we should probably be doing better than that. I think we should probably be looking for top 10 finish. Be nice to think we could push for the European places, but that might be a little bit ambitious. But if the league is as poor as it's been in that area of the table next year, which I can't believe it will be, but there's been a handful of clubs that have sort of been stumbling over each other to not get into Europe. We saw it the other year. It's usually the top four stumble about each other who's not going to get that last top four place. But this year it seems to be those European places, everyone's stumbling around. We're amongst them clubs that stumbled about and no one really wants to seem to grasp it. And if that's replicated next year, Lopetegui comes in, gets his squad together early. I think that's quite crucial as well. We get the recruitment, get it done early, and get a real good pre-season with him. Let him still his values and get his drills in place for them for the new season. If we hit the ground running, Who knows? Maybe we could have a run at a European place. I think that's probably a little bit over ambitious, but yeah, top 10, good go at a cup. I'd be pretty happy with that. Harry saying Paqueta has been playing like crap the last month, so to impress Pep, he will have to be magical on the ball, and Paqueta needs goals, so he's the top man. Well, yeah, Paqueta's goals and goal involvements have really dried up, haven't they? When was the last time he was involved in, directly involved in it? I think it's quite a while now. You cast your mind back um, to the Wolves game. He had 3 assists in that game, didn't he? 3 terrific balls he played through led to goals. Um, but he hasn't done anything like that for a long, long time. And doesn't seem to chip in with lots of goals. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Don't know that he's going to do that on Sunday. He's going to maybe try too hard, throw himself about, try and win some free kicks, and make a bit of a fool of himself. I think that's more likely. We'll see. Owen loves to score against City as well. I tell you what, Harry, I would absolutely, whatever the result is, I would absolutely love Bowen and set a new record. He has been absolutely terrific this year. He's asked to step into the Antonio role, and he did his absolute best to do a job there. And fair play to him. I think he did as good a job as he could do. And he's contributed with loads of goals. And yeah, one more to make him top scorer in the Premier League for West Ham. So yeah, if I was a religious man, I'd say I'll pray for him. But I'm not. But I'll still pray for him to score. I really hope he gets a goal. Be lovely. I couldn't care less if we lost 4-1. Really, if Bowen got a goal, I think it'd be brilliant. Who would I like as captain? Was him asking Bowen or Alvarez? Well, I really would like Alvarez, um, someone in Alvarez's position to be captain, and I do think that he's got the character and the drive to be a captain. But I do worry about his disciplinary record, and I don't know if he would be the type of player that would take the responsibility of being a captain, and it would calm him down a little bit, and he'd take his responsibility as a leader to not be continually getting booked seriously. And maybe I don't know if that would be the detriment of his game, or if it would just help him tone down just enough that perhaps he needs to at times. But positionally, I really like him. But with his disciplinary record, I don't know if he's the best role model. And Bowen, I don't think is in the best position to lead the team as captain. But he's openly come out and said he would like to be captain of West Ham one day. So he clearly feels he's got what it takes to be a captain of that team and lead that team. And his work rate is absolutely phenomenal. You cannot question his effort. He certainly seems to have got more expressive towards his teammates this year. than he has been in the past. Perhaps that's Declan Rice leaving, and he feels like he needs to step into the plate a bit more. So, um, for passion and attachment to the club, I think Bowen is probably the choice. I think he's shown a desire and vocalised a desire to captain the club. So, yeah, it definitely should be seriously considered. And like I say, I like Alvarez positionally, and I think he's got quite a lot of attributes to be a good captain. But I do worry about his discipline. But other than that, you're struggling to look for established people to captain the side, and probably the next one you can look at is going to be Areola. And I'm not really the biggest fan of goalkeepers captains. I'm not sure captains are perhaps as important as they were once in football. But I still think they are important characters and they've got a role to play. And yeah, I'm not sure goalkeepers make the best captains for me. But yeah, Bowen's probably the most sensible choice. And Alvarez is potentially a good choice, I'd say. And Barry's saying he thinks Barry has to be captain next season. He's Mr. West Ham now. Got to live up to the expectations of Danny Dyer. Yeah, well, like I say, he's shown a desire to be a captain of the club, and yeah, for me, absolutely, he's shown a bit more leadership on the pitch, trying to gee his teammates up at times. Seen a bit more of that of him this year that I haven't seen out of him before. So yeah, he's showing the kind of skills that we need. Don't know if he's ever going to be a Mark Noble dragging people around by their scruff of their shirt, but who knows? Maybe he will. They certainly has settled into West Ham and become, if not one of the most important players at our club, I would say, at the moment. Him and Kudus, Alvarez, real solid spine of the team, really. Areola, I suppose, should be included in that. Anyway, guys, I'm here on my own and kind of half trying to watch the City Tottenham game out of one eye. So I think I'm going to call it an hour this evening. I'd like to thank you all for joining me once again. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take time to hit the subscribe button. And I will try and make sure I've got a team with me next week, and we'll go over the City game, discuss whether it's been an absolute mauling or not, and yeah, maybe we'll have a bit more vision going forwards, what to expect going into the summer, a bit more clarity with Lopetegui, and see where it takes us. But in the meantime, thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, guys. To the